What's going on, you guys? It's your huggable hipster here, and welcome back to Soulsborne Academy. Don't mind the hunter in the corner, they're just here for your protection. Today, I am going to be going into yet another comparison video, diving into the similarities between Dark Souls 1 and Bloodborne, because I know how much you guys just love when I do that. I say that with like a tinge of sarcasm, the oh so smallest, faintest scruple of sarcasm. Mostly because I remember how some of you were like, why does she look so cringy? But also I remember how you guys were like, well, there's nothing to compare. Yeah, there's a lot to compare, actually. Karen. There are so many similarities between so many of the different From Software games. I mean, even Armored Core. Okay, don't even get me started on some of the similarities between Armored Core, Bloodborne, Dark Souls. There's just a whole butt ton of them. In today's video comparison, I'm going to be diving into the similarities between Guinevere and Rom the Vacuous Spider. Now, just to give you guys a little bit of a refresher on who both Rom the Vacuous Spider and Guinevere are, here's some information on them. Guinevere, Princess of Sunlight, is an illusion, kind of a mirage, a blanket of sunlight to keep Anor Londo looking peaceful, looking sane, looking very, very bright. It's that illusion of peace, that illusion of the blanket of everything is fine being put on top of it. Rom was once a scholar of Bergenworth who at some point went through a metamorphosis into kin, courtesy of cause, according to dialogue given by Mikolash. The spider hides all manner of rituals, certain to reveal nothing, for true enlightenment need not be shared. That's who both of them are. Both of them cover up the truth. They cover up the true meaning of the world around them and what it actually is. What I find fascinating is how these concepts were put into two different games entirely. The entire concept of Guinevere was not utilized at all for the second and third game. Guinevere was mentioned in Dark Souls 3, but there wasn't this kind of, oh, everything has to be sealed away and kept tucked away from people, because that was already happening in the first game. So fascinating to me that we now have fan-canonized lore to an extent when it comes to certain things like this, because we see in Elden Ring a lot of the concepts and ideals that were held in Bloodborne, that were held in Dark Souls. I know everybody hates it whenever I compare Elden Ring to Dark Souls or Bloodborne, but it's true. It's so fascinating and it's so cool to see. But when it comes to a curtain over reality, so to speak, to keep things calm, to keep people, humans, creatures sedated to a degree, to keep them not curious, is a form of control. It's a form of, okay, we need to keep everyone kind of, what's the word? We need to keep everybody happy. We need to keep everyone not curious, because curiosity is something that leads to an uprising. Curiosity is something that leads to questions, and they don't want questions. The whole purpose of utilizing insight in the game is knowledge. Insight is knowledge. Insight is knowing too much, and can't have that, can we? Can't ask too many questions, because once you start asking questions, then, oh god, you're in for a world of pain. The whole purpose of insight, the whole purpose of gaining that insight within Bloodborne is seeing the world for what it really is. Same goes for whenever you kill Guinevere in Dark Souls 1. Now keep in mind, when you do destroy the illusion of Guinevere in Dark Souls 1, you're not only taking away the sunlight, you're taking away all of the enemies that reside in Anor Londo, besides the Painted Guardians and the Silver Knights and two new hostile characters that appear when you leave the boss arena that you fought Smo Nordstein at. Now, what I did notice in terms of the endings that you can get in Bloodborne and how they correlate to the vanishing of the sun, the vanishing of the kind of the wool over the eyes, is really interesting. So when you are in Dark Souls, and let's say you choose the ending of bringing about the Age of Darkness, then you can just turn around, not, light the flame and just walk out, and you have achieved that ending. But I find it really interesting how when you kill Guinevere, that is a sort of bringing into the Age of Darkness, as well as having that coinciding ending to go along with it. I find that's kind of cool, because not only are you kind of sticking with a character arc that you're building for yourself, but you are creating this notion that no, darkness has to come before the light can come in, which it's going into a very philosophical territory, but stay with me for a second on this. And we go in and see Rom the Vacuous Spider. Oh, this also connects to getting the true ending of where you are fighting Moon Presence. You are fighting the thing that literally created all of this. The Moon Presence controls and manipulates all that reside within the Hunter's Dream. I think is really cool about Bloodborne and Dark Souls 1 is that it has a way to tell the same story in a different story. It probably does not make sense, but go with me on this for a second. The writing is just so good. The writing in the way that Rom the Vacuous Spider is saying like, oh, I'm going to make sure that everyone, all the humans, don't see all of the hurt, all of the amygdalas, all of the things that are painful in this world. And the same with Guinevere saying, I'm going to take away all the pain. I'm going to make an illusion of all of the hurt. There's a deeper story of Guinevere. I have it up on my channel. If you guys want to see it, it'll be up here to watch. Both telling the same thing, just in a different structure, in a different way. And I think at the core, at least this is my my guess as to what it could be, but I think at the core of the root of what both of these stories are trying to convey to the player and to the person who is enjoying these games is that you need to see things. You need to understand that to have insight into the world isn't a bad thing. It is a good thing. It may hurt, it may suck, it may give you a lens into a world that is quite frightening and quite terrible sometimes, but it is good to have that insight. It is good to have that knowledge, that because knowledge is power. As you know, as cheesy as it sounds, as old time as it sounds, it is true. Knowledge is the absolute form of power that you can have as a human being. Having too much knowledge can make you go crazy sometimes because you know too much and you have too much information at your fingertips, which as human beings, I don't think all of this technological stuff, I don't think we were meant to process it as quickly as we are forced to process it a lot of the time, which that could lead to burnout, that could lead to psychological stress, that could lead to depression, anxiety, a whole host of things that is no good for our mental structure. It's no good for our organic ingestion of insight. There is an organic way to ingest, to come across and procure insight, if you will. Both Bloodborne and Dark Souls tell us and warn us, quite frankly, that once you obtain knowledge on something so powerful, there is no turning back whatsoever. That obtaining of knowledge, that knowing of truth is probably one of the most amazing and scary things that someone can do for themselves. It's also one of the most freeing things one can do for themselves as well. I love doing videos like these. They're so much fun to be able to guess and theorize and just play around with, because a lot of the lore, a lot of what Dark Souls and Bloodborne is about is philosophy, is psychology, is speculation of seeing a world that has so much lore and so many things at your fingertips that you can just play around with. But that is it for me. I hope you all enjoyed this episode of Soulsborne Academy. If you all like my face and what I do, please be sure to subscribe and hit that bell down below. May you find your worth in the waking world, your hunter, and I will see you all in the next one. Umbasa.